$100 million.
No, but I mean,
said,
sometimes you
going.
think I had a big vision for the idea. I did. I just wanted the tequila at my cantina down there, and I wanted my cantina to have the best tequila in the world. I have all these other tequilas that people had never tasted, instead of the rock gut that everybody was drinking. When I came out with Cabo Wabo, there was only one one premium tequila. That was Patron. They came out 2 years before me, and Patron's probably worth $2 billion.
Right.
At least $1 billion. That if they sold it, my $100 million, man, for my number 2 premium tequila. That's how far ahead of me they were. Because they were great marketing guys, spent money on the brand. John Paul Mitchell, he owns it. The hairdresser guy, he had a lot of extra money.
There's a guy with a motor.
Business guy, knows what the hell he's doing. I'm not like that. I just had a vision. I wanted this great tequila for my cantina, and when this guy Andrew Diaz-Blue, a food wine critic, wrote an article without my knowledge, American Airlines magazine, saying Cabo Wabo tequila, one of the 3 greatest tequilas in the world. He tasted it at the Cabo Wabo where I only had it. The phone started ringing. I'm going, huh? So I was like, I made the Motown deal, pal. You'd be real proud of me. I made a deal with a distributor that all they had to do was order 6,000 cases a year from me, and I thought 6,000 cases. I was making like $50,000 off that, right?
Right.
And I was thinking, man, this is awesome. What free money,
Right.
And the first year it does 37,000 cases and exploded, and because of a fan base,
Right.
And so see what I'm saying? I'm going, whoa, I'm running full speed trying to keep up with this company for 10 years, going out on tour, promoting it, doing all this stuff. It gets up to 167,000 cases. I don't know what to do with it. I'm going, man, this is like almost becoming a headache. It's making tons of money. It was making, honestly, for me, $7-8 million a year profit.
Wow.
And doing nothing. I didn't have to, go out on tour and drink it. Hey, and it's great. But I didn't spend any money on it. But then when Grupo Campari said I wanted worldwide distribution, I said, man, I'm going to put this shit in the whole world, right?
Right.
And they said, no, we only own brands. We don't buy. We don't promote your stuff.
Right.
So they tried to buy it.
Stuff,
I said no. And they said, how much? I said, I don't know. That's not enough. And not because I was to go. I said, why would I sell this for $63 or something million they offered me for it when I'm making $7 a year off it? I'm going, well,
right.
I'm fine, Right. In 10 years, I'll make more than that and probably even go bigger. So blah, blah, blah. Well, what would it take to change your life? I said, 100. And they said, okay. And I went, pow. They heard me hit the floor. It was like a fucking miracle, man,
Did
Look at me.
Did they give you the $100 million in one lump?
I only sold 80%, so I got $84 million in one check, yes.
One check?
Yeah, with only capital gains.
I'd love to see what that... Anyway.
I got a picture of it.
I would, too. I put it in place for my kids in my wallet. So
That's so much different than that guy you had up there a couple minutes ago, but okay.
So now, there you are. You're in Fontana. Dad's a Rolling Stone. Dad's drunk. He's in and out of the joint.
He's living in the streets now. I'm driving down the street with my buddies, with our girlfriends, double dating, drinking beer in the backseat of a car, listening to the radio. And the guy goes, hey, man, there's your old man. I'm going, God.
So it's total bust. That's heartbreaking.
My heart. Broke my heart, man.
So now, did your mom, you get a stepdad?
My mom got married finally when I was about 16.
Now, how was that dude? Because sometimes they make the same mistake twice.
He was totally cool. No, he drank a little bit. He was half Russian. He was Ukrainian, and he was out of sight, dude. And he bought me my first car.
I'm a Red Rocker too. Hey, he must have liked the Red Rocker stuff later.
He would look at my long hair and stuff, and he'd get all pissed off because he came from he escaped from Russia. It was during the revolution there, and he was down on anybody that wasn't happy to be an American. So he every now and then he'd accuse me of being like a communist. You move to Russia, you'll see.
Right. Well, he could tell you the truth about Russia.
Yeah, but he was right on the money though.
So
he was a great guy.
Now, at what point do you think I got to rock?
Oh, straight up, 4 years old, baby.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, I saw my sisters going nuts for Elvis on TV. I'm going Ed Sullivan Show. I'm going, I like this. I like music. My sisters started combing my hair like Elvis, dolling me all up, having, they were teenagers at that point. I was, young, the youngest one. So they used to dance with me, and I'd be dancing with these 13, 14-year-old girls with titties and stuff when I was 4 or 5 years old. Have a little bone, going on, and I dug it. I really did. I really dug it.
And you start playing the guitar.
When I was about 14, I started finding. I never had a guitar. Nobody I knew had any money.
Sure.
So my mom finally bought me a $39 Sears and Roebuck guitar.
And when do you fly out of the nest, and where do you go?
San Francisco.
You go to San Francisco.
I went straight to a psychic. It's in my book. This lady named Miss Kellerman. I was starting to play music, and we had a band, and I'd never left my hometown, basically, hardly. And she goes, you need to go to San Francisco. You're going to get a big break later on in life and all this. She told me the whole story, everything right here, right on down to probably the tequila, too, because she talked about some kind of production. I'm going, huh? What the hell's this lady talking about, you know?
But this is still back in Fontana?
I was 20 years old, 19, 20.
19 or 20.
And
You're going nowhere. Fontana, not exactly the Seattle rock scene.
She said, no, there was no scene. She said, move to San Francisco. I packed my band
What
up.
year are we talking about?
67, 68. And I moved to San Francisco with my band. We slept on a guy's floor. And I was on welfare. I had a brand new baby. I had a baby when I was 20 years old.
Jesus
and,
Christ.
I was on welfare. And
you have a 43-year-old son?
Yes, I do.
Jesus Christ, he's got to be happy.
And wait, and a 45-year-old wife.
Jesus, oh man, he's probably having sex
I'm
with her
laughing
right
only
now.
because she's my son's age.
Yeah.
But I mean, she's not that much younger than me. Look, when you're an adult,
No one acts younger than you.
if I
I can
had
tell you that.
if I had a 14-year-old wife, but I mean, I have a 14-year-old daughter with
Plus,
my
you
wife.
spend as much time as you do in Mexico. That stuff's not frowned upon.
Woo!
You got a 14-year-old girlfriend. Ain't no big thing.
I love kids so much, man. I would have more kids. My wife, we have 2, and I have 2 from the previous marriage. But yeah, so I have this son, and we're on welfare, and so I was on food stamps, so I got to move to San Francisco, and I could still eat at least. And so I'm feeding the whole band off my food stamps. I was determined, and sure enough, I meet Ronnie Montrose within a year, and start Montrose. I started my recording career. We didn't get rich overnight, but it put me on. At least I got my foot in the door. Once my foot was in that door, baby, you were not getting it shut.
You were in Montrose and Van Halen, so you were in 2 bands named after dudes' last names, which I don't know anyone else that was in 2 bands with another dude's last name that were the front man and essentially star of each band
that was named
after someone else. I never knew Montrose was Montrose. Like, Montrose.
And got kicked out of both of them, by the way.
Oh, you got kicked out of Montrose? Montrose is a
There you go.
small city outside of Pasadena and Altadena. And, well, it's sort of like La Crescenta, Montrose. There's a little town called Montrose. Ironically, I'll bet you the Van Halens only lived 3 miles from Montrose.
Probably. Well,
growing
Ted
up.
Templeman named Van Halen. They were Mammoth. You should ask
they were
Mikey
Mammoth.
about.
That's
and
right.
then he signed them, and Ted Templeman signed Montrose. And so we were called Jupiter. And Ted Templeman said, Montrose, Ronnie's famous. And so then we got Van Halen. He just said, okay, well, let's call it Van Halen after Montrose. I mean, it was so ironic. And you want to hear something really ironic? Ted Templeman tried to get rid of Roth and get me in that band. I just got kicked out of Montrose, and I had
way
a solo
back
career.
in the day.
Yeah, 76 when he signed Van Halen. You ask him, Mike will tell you. Ted Templeman said, "Let's get Sammy Hagar in the band." And
why'd you get kicked out of Montrose?
Same thing. You just start butting heads with a guitar player. I'm ambitious. I want to do things. I want, if I feel things aren't going great, I'm saying, look, we're starving, all right? Our record's on the charts, but we ain't making no money. We got to do something. We're only making $500 a night. Why can't we go to our manager? And you start, saying, hey, come on, get everybody rallied up. Let's go. And Ronnie was like, it became like, whoa, he's taking over. Whatever he wants, we're not doing.
Right.
And he kicked me out. And
it became that thing. When you have this adversarial relationship, I always look at it as the chew toy theory, which is it's like you grab one of those rope chew toys and a pit bull's got the other end of it. And you pull this direction and it starts pulling back on you. Even if you turn around and go the same direction it used to be pulling, it'll now be pulling the direction.
Sir.
It doesn't matter what the direction is. The point is it's the opposite of the way you're pulling. And even if you're pulling in a good direction, they'll just pull the other direction just because they're pit bull and they're locked onto that rope toy. And that's the end of that.
You're a philosopher. I
kind of am.
I need to read your book. I saw your
Thank
book
you.
up there. I want to read your damn book. You're
You
right
could
on
do
the
a lot
friggin'
worse.
money.
And once you get into the pit bull scenario where you're turning into
You're done.
360 degrees and they're pulling every degree that you're moving in, then it's done because they're pulling for the sake of pulling, and it doesn't matter if the idea is good or bad anymore. It's the opposite of your idea.
People just don't want to do what you want. I've never been like that. I'm not the guy on the the other end that's doing it. I'm usually just trying to get something done, and then someone will oppose me. I feel like I'm innocent, but I'm sure Eddie or Ronnie Montrose will tell you that I had some kind of a ulterior motives, or I was trying to, get somewhere for myself. I'm not selfish at all. If I had my way, I'd still be in Montrose.
Well, the thing that...
but getting thrown out of a band is a good thing for me because it makes me roll up my sleeves and start over again. And when I start over again, I'm better and I have more and I'm smarter. I do learn.
I do
from my mistakes.
In my book, I do speak a lot about change and about how it always feels bad at the beginning, but it's a growth experience. It's
totally
always
awesome.
growth. And also as you talk about the money, I travel around. I play these clubs, you go to the theater or something. You go to the House of Blues, or you go to some 700,000 seat theater or something like that. And the unions are so expensive and the clubs eat up so much of the money. And when I say club, I mean theater normally. But you go out, you play a 1,000-seat theater. And the tickets are $35-$40, So you go, oh, okay, so now there's $40,000 here to deal with, and then at the end of the night they cut me a check for $9,000, and they go, that's what you get.
You need a manager. You want me to manage it?
It's all the unions.
You can get 40 to 50% out of a $40,000 gross if you really work these guys right.
Really?
Yeah, but you got to carry some counting around with you. You got to pay his ass. But a guy that really knows what he's doing, he'll find all these little points where they charge us $3 for Coca-Cola that were in your room, and they only paid $1, and all these little things, and you get it. You can make more than that. But for you by yourself,
that's
5 days a week, you're making $10,000 a night. There's $50,000 a week in your pocket. You're doing fine.
I'm not complaining. I'm just saying when I go backstage and I look up at the poster and it says the Tubes and the English Beat are going to be here next weekend.
Yeah, with the entourage
and there's 9 guys in the Tubes and 11 guys in the English Beat or whatever, and I think I'm serious. Like, I'm walking out of this 1,000-seater with a check for $11,300 or something, and I'm not crying about it, but I'm thinking, Jesus, there was $40,000-$50,000 lying around here, and I'm walking out with 10. All right, so be it. But if I'm one of the guys from the English Beat, who, by the way, has got the Tubes opening up. What are those guys walking out of there with?
A couple $100 a week if they're.
How does that fucking work?
Hey, in Montrose, we made $150 a week each. We were on pay and $10 a day per diem. And when I left the band, we were 10 weeks behind on my per diem and stuff. And I had been putting all my publishing money. This story's in the book too, but by putting all my publishing money back in the band, because I wrote all the first songs, on the first album. So I was getting all this songwriting money that I didn't even know I was getting. The management and everybody was just putting it back in the band to keep us on tour. And then when I left Montrose, I was broke. I had zero money in the bank. My phone was turned off at home. Ronnie fires me in Paris at the last show, call it The Last Tango in Paris. And I come back home. I got nothing. I got a wife and a kid. I'm ready to go back on welfare. What happens? I get a check in the mail for $5,100 for my publishing because Montrose album was selling well worldwide, especially. And I got $5,100 because, see, I had never seen that money because it was going back into the band.
Right.
And I went, wow, I'm rich. And you know what I mean? There's a miracle around every friggin' corner. And just like you said, boy, in the middle of the most adverse conditions, you think it's so hopeless. Sometimes that's what you need to get you on the friggin' path to get to Cabo Wabo, Come on, baby.
So then you start your own band at that point.
Yeah.
And is the first hit Red?
No, sort of, but it really wasn't a hit. But it was my first kind of big... I
call it a hit.
Yeah, well, it was at rock radio. It got played, but it wasn't a crossover top 40 hit.
Mm-hmm.
That record sold about 100,000 copies. And once again, the publishing money kept me in.
I Can't Drive 55, is that the first?
That was a hit.
That was the first big one.
No, I think I Fall in Love Again on 82 on Standing Hampton record was my first big hit. And the song Heavy Metal from the movie was a really big rock hit. And Underground. One Way to Rock was a rock hit.
Oh, yeah, there's only one way. I like that
I didn't
song.
have those big top 40 hits, but I had rock hits that sold a lot of and sold tickets. I was selling out double arenas on my own when I joined Van Halen, and I had a string of 5 platinum albums, but then when I hit Van Halen, we just went into super sonic drive.
What was the biggest year, you think, for Van Halen?
Our second year. Our manager went to the record company. They had the worst record deal. I joined that band. They were getting $750,000 advance after Jump.
Wow.
After 1984,
Right.
I was getting $1 million on Geffen. They were getting a 3/4 publishing rate, so they're getting paid 75 cents on the dollar for their songs. I was getting $1 on the dollar for my songs. My manager comes, and when I told him I wanted to join the band, he had a meeting with us all, and they didn't have a manager. Ed